Coming up next on Arizona Horizons Journalists Roundtable, we'll talk about the latest intrigue involving the Arizona Corporation Commission, and the Superintendent of Public Instruction wants more money now for public school teachers. The Journalists Roundtable is next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizons Journalists Roundtable. I'm Ted Simons. Joining us tonight, Jeremy Duda of the Arizona Capital-Times, Bob Christie of the Associated Press, and Mike Sunnix of the Phoenix Business Journal. The Arizona Corporation Commission is again in the unusual position of making headlines. It just never seems to end over there. This used to be a very quiet bunch of folks.
It has been, and without them, I don't know how we even have a show over the summer. But this drama continued this week. It was a continuation of what we saw last week, where Susan Bittersmith and Bob Burns, two of the commissioners, put an item on their agenda wanting to talk about whether or not they should ask the utilities they regulate, i.e. APS, to not participate or spend money in the elections. That got pulled from the agenda by one of their colleagues, so they came back this week, and this discussion quickly shifted focus, not to, should we ask, but can we force them to tell us if they're spending money in elections? Because this is all, dark money. It's, allegedly money. APS is suspected to have allegedly put all this money into these other groups. They don't have to disclose their contributors, spending more than $3 million on the CorpCom races last year. Bob Burns is talking about issuing subpoenas. They're looking for legal opinions now and whether they can really, how much power they really have, whether or not one commissioner can do it on his own, and when they can do that.
And along with that, there was the idea, I think Commissioners Burns and Bittersmith wanted the regulated businesses, all regulated businesses, to refrain from campaign funds to Corporation Commission races. Well, that's not going to go very far, will it?
It's probably not going to go. I mean, that was a request. We would request that they not participate. And of course, Doug Little and Tom Friess, the two Republicans who were elected last November, a lot of folks believe with help from dark money from APS, came out with scathing letters that said that's unconstitutional, you can't do that. I mean, long, lengthy explanations of why the board or the commission is stepping into areas where it's not allowed to regulate. Even if they wanted to regulate, it's a constitutional right, a free speech right for companies to spend the money, and it degenerated from there.
Yeah, I mean, it's all Citizens United, all the First Amendment stuff and dark money, and we can complain about it, and it's untawdry at times, but there's always that backdrop of you can't really force them to do it. Now you can pressure them to do it, and there is a lot of pressure on the members of the Corporation Commission and the utilities, because the optics on this are horrible. Because it looks like the people that are on the commission are bought and paid for. That's what the optics are of this. So maybe that, even though their protests will be there, maybe eventually you'll see them, it'll affect their behavior.
But they can force them to do that, can't they?
They very well may be able to. I remember APS, this is not, a traditional business or, a nonprofit. They're in a very unique position. They are a government-sanctioned, regulated monopoly. They do not have any competition. Remember, a couple of years ago, we saw a serious push for deregulation at the Corporation Commission. APS fought very fiercely against it. And so they are, in many ways, at the whims of the Corporation Commission, which would lend itself to the notion of why they would spend so much money to choose who these regulators are.
Right, and I think Commissioner Burns and Bittersmith both believe that it's damaging the credibility of the commission. And the Supreme Court has said there's nothing unconstitutional about requiring disclosure of payments. It is unconstitutional to stop corporations from spending money. They're people too. They can spend money and have free speech rights. But states and other folks can require disclosure because, as we all know, sunshine's a little bit of a disinfectant.
Well, and all this kind of stemmed out of the solar fight between the APS and Solar City. And the solar folks, Solar City, the folks that they have people actually working for them. They have money. And so they can have these groups with these public record requests. And so there's some juice behind all the scrutiny and criticism, where it's not just a couple watchdogs out there. Because for the most part, we only talk about the Corporation Commission when they do something wrong or they raise rates. And now they're doing something wrong.
And the solar folks, that kind of gets to another major issue of this fight and the criticism from APS, from Commissioners Friess, Little, and Stump, is that the Corporation Commission can force APS to say what they're spending. They can't do that with these solar companies that are funding the other side. Now, what a lot of these solar groups have said lately is, we will voluntarily refrain from spending any money in the next Corporation Commission race, but we reserve the right to withdraw that if those guys won't do the same thing.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting development. I mean, I think we've seen over the summer, the scope of the summer, this absolute refusal by the corporation commissioners, any of them, to address this ongoing public outcry over this deep-seated feeling, I think, that a lot of people believe that those commissioners are in the pockets of the regulated utilities.
The Bittersmith stuff resonates with people. Everyday people that see the story, saw the KJAS story, they're the ones that kind of broke it first. People can understand that. She was a lobbyist, works for the cable industry, maybe worked for Cox, right? And she votes on things related to those industries. People can understand that. A lot of the other stuff that's popped up about the CorpCom and APS, it gets kind of inside baseball. But this is something that kind of is simple for people to understand.
Well, not only that, but there's a new poll out, Jeremy, and it shows a telephone poll. 86% of those questioned thought that, yes, Susan Bittersmith should be removed from office if she's found moonlighting with conflict of interest issues.
Yeah, and this shows perhaps people are paying a bit more attention to what's going on at the Corporation Commission, since it's been in the news every day for this accusation or this scandal. Now, I mean, this is a telephone poll, so maybe take it with a grain of salt. But it's hard to argue with those numbers of folks who say 86%. If these allegations are true,
yes,
she should be gone. And what these allegations come down to is really two things: whether or not she has a conflict of interest because she's a lobbyist for a cable television industry association, which includes Cox, which the Corporation Commission regulates for some of its other services, and whether she has a conflict of interest from her company, a consulting firm called Technical Solutions, which is very big in Scottsdale. They're involved in a lot of projects, and Bob Parsons of GoDaddy fame hired them to help get some neighborhood support for this big golf course project, which incidentally required the relocation of an APS substation.
So we've got her PR firm helping a client deal with APS. Yep. We've got her lobbying for a telecom firm overseen by the Corporation Commission. Now she says it's cable TV only, but Cox does deal with telephones, and has she ever dealt with telephones?
I mean, there's the lawyer who brought the complaint was digging around in this afternoon, about 3 o'clock. He sent out from Jeremy's publication. They produce a list of lobbyists every year, and the lobbyists can take ads out. And then there's a big Susan Bittersmith ad that says, lobbying for telecommunications companies, which he immediately sent to the Attorney General and say, see, pretty much proof right here. It looks bad. The optics are bad for her. We'll get into some type of legal discussion.
Well, when you're explaining in politics and these things, you're usually losing, and they're doing a lot of explaining on this, and they're trying to convince people that this is legal or this is okay, but it just looks bad. It looks like they're on the take. It looks like who's getting favored treatment down there? People you do business with, or consumers?
It doesn't seem like they're even hiding it. I mean, Freese and Little seem like they are adamantly supporting anything and everything that APS would want. That is the appearance. That is the perception, and it doesn't seem like it's bothering them.
Apparently not. We saw, 2-3 weeks ago, we had a very big vote on whether to allow APS to impose new fees on the solar panel owners. Normally you would wait for a rate case, which wouldn't roll around for a couple more years. 3-2 vote. It's the same way pretty much every controversial vote splits there, with Bittersmith and Burns on the losing side and Freese, Little, and Stump on the other, to allow this.
It brings up a last question here. Are we seeing a split, a fissure, a little bit of a crack there in the Corporation Commission, with Burns and Bittersmith on one side and the three who seem to be associated? I mean, APS certainly isn't denying anything out there, associated with dark money / APS. Is there a bit of a...
I think so. I mean, especially with Commissioner Bob Burns, who I believe finally, I mean, he gets it. From what he's said and what he said publicly in meetings, he understands that this is damaging the credibility of the commission, and he's trying to find a way to protect it.
Sure, and we saw Burns, even last year during the election during all this controversy, he was kind of starting to hint at, hey, maybe we can do this for the next election. Can we force them to disclose? And you have this two-person faction now, but it clearly seems like Burns is leading it. Bittersmith does not seem like she's as comfortable with some of the things he's doing. And one of the things they want this legal opinion for is to see, can Bob Burns go it alone? Can he do this on his own?
And we're talking, again, possibly subpoenas.
It could be.
All right. Well, as we mentioned, the Corporation Commission has kept us in business all summer long. So has Diane Douglas. And she came out today And she, goodness gracious, she wants $400 million more spent on education, not just education, directly to teachers.
Directly to teachers, for raises for teachers and to hire new teachers. She wants it right away. She wants Governor Ducey to call a special session in the legislature, which is sitting on $750 million, give or take, of surplus and rainy day money, which and they're expecting to see another $270 million in exit. We're close to $1 billion in extra money over the next year and a half that the legislature doesn't have set for it. She says, let's get it to the schools right away. And no, I'm not talking about the school inflation funding lawsuit, that $330 million. That should come on top of it. And when Governor Ducey, if he brings the land trust thing in, that's on top of that too. So.
Sometimes Republicans make the best Democrats in the state. Jan Brewer with the Medicaid and the tax increase, and now Diane Douglas is your friend of teachers. Lori Roberts singing her praises. We know the world is a different place today. But you know what you say about she has some good political instincts on stuff. She showed it when winning the race and winning the primary and winning the general election. And this is I bet you there'd be 80-some% support for this among people if they were polled.
She is nothing if not a wild card. I mean, she's out there and she just doesn't care what people think. She's going to say it and may have to say it twice.
Yeah, absolutely not. You can always count on her to throw you a curveball lately. And one of the things that's interesting about this is she's very much aligning herself kind of with all of Doug Ducey's enemies on this issue. You had all these liberal education groups last week came out and demanded a special session for more funding, use this surplus funding that we're expected to have right now. And a bunch of liberal education groups whose opinions Ducey is probably not particularly interested in this plan she announced today. She also kind of tied herself to Treasurer Jeff DeWitt, who has made himself quite the enemy of Governor Ducey lately, and said, we want to use extra money, increased distribution money from the land trust for this, but only if Treasurer DeWitt says that the fund can take the hit.
Quote, I'm going to read this quote here. Making our children wait 2 years, the inflation adjustment suit, the use of the land trust would call for that, the land trust funds. Making our children wait for 2 years, then funding them for a few years, then not funding them after that makes no sense at all. Do all Arizona children deserve a great education, or only those who are in school during key development period in time or times of lawsuits or high revenue growth? That is a shot at the governor.
That is a shot at the governor. And the reason we're having this talk of the special session, and it wasn't just the school advocates, that's been brewing for several weeks now, and it's not necessarily coming from the Democrats. It's coming because the Republicans in the legislature and Governor Ducey know that this issue cannot wait till next year. The plan, Ducey's plan when he rolled it out in July was next spring the legislature would refer the land trust to the ballot, and then in the November of 2016 it would go to the election. In 2017, if it passed, they'd start getting money in schools. There is no time for that. The governor, I believe, is starting to realize that. A lot of Republican lawmakers know that they've got to get some money now because they're going to districts and they're getting hammered.
Yeah, now, I'm not ready to start penciling in a special session on the calendar quite yet, though. You're hearing a lot of talk about this, but so much of it is really coming from one person. It's coming from Representative Paul Boyer, who's a very close ally of the governor on this land trust. He's been kind of one of the top cheerleaders over in the legislature. And he's talking about this, but you start talking to leadership and those folks, you realize he hasn't really talked to anyone else about this. The governor is kind of keeping an open mind, but they don't appear to have polled members on availability, on willingness. We're not even sure if Governor Ducey has the votes for this right now.
Right, and we probably don't. But Warren Peterson was on the teletown hall on Tuesday. He said we need to do it quick, and the governor said we need a solution within several weeks. So I think this is it's resonating.
It does show you kind of the state of politics here. The Democrats, if they call for this, nobody would listen to them. Nobody listens to the teachers' unions. Where's the business community on these things? We're last or near last in terms of classroom spending, teacher pay. I'll say routinely that near last. And it takes Diane Douglas, who's a right-wing Tea Party, anti-Common Core person, to get this going. And it shows also that there's some vulnerability of the governor, not just down at the Capitol, but those cuts to universities. He took a hit, especially with women voters, with Republican women voters who supported him in his election. He took a hit with those. And if you see some momentum behind her on this, I think we will see a special session.
One more quote, Jeremy. I want you to comment on this one. We have an entire generation of children for whom over $1 billion of education was not provided. We can never go back and provide that education to them. How many more children must suffer the same fate before the leaders of our state truly prioritize education? That's a Republican speaking.
And I've been hearing the same thing for years from legislative Democrats,
That's
from
Children's
the
Action
AEA, the
Alliance,
teachers
you know?
union. Yeah, that there's no going back. That so much criticism over all these cuts for the last few years, and really casting this as an emergency that must be solved immediately.
But it shows she's not beholden
I
to
want to
anybody.
let Jeremy know, I didn't mean to disagree with him. It's not, this special session thing is not ready yet. The leadership, the members, they don't even know what is being proposed, so it'll be a while.
But the thing is, she's not beholden. The business community, the business lobbyists, they're so beholden to the legislature and the governor. The rank and file down there, they capitulate every time there's a budget to leadership or the governor. Diane isn't beholden to anybody. She can say what she wants. So she sounds like Children's Action Alliance or the teachers union.
And apparently her chief of staff or one of her high-level staffers can go around emailing folks and making threats. Is that what the charge was?
Depending on who you ask. Michael Bradley also throwing some curveballs here. Now he sent this email to a group regarding an affiliation with Max Goshert, who is the head of this Diane Douglas recall effort. And this group, the Arizona Association of Black Educators, I believe, they had a page on their website, which Goshert said is just because he spoke at one of their events once. But in the description, in the little bio, it mentions he's also the head of the Douglas recall. So Michael Bradley, who sent this, he was home that day, homesick, he says, but he had a lot of very pointed questions. It was very terse, sounded accusatory. Said, are you a nonprofit that can participate in a recall election? Are you trying to get rid of Diane Douglas? What's your association here? He says, oh, well, I didn't mean for it to sound intimidating, but it was very tersely worded, sounded accusatory.
Sound different than they're meant, right?
Yeah, sure they do. And again, Attorney General's office says they will review.
They will
the
review
situation.
this complaint just like they'll review the complaint against Susan Bittersmith. Here's what I see in the Michael Bradley issue. We've heard this tune before, back in Tom Horn's day. We hear it when supporters or backers who work for political operatives or political sitting political
Office
folks,
holders,
office holders, get on the phone and start leaning on people for political things that are outside their job description. There's supposed to be a clear line between what you do for the government and what you do for politically. And we've seen it out of Tom Horn's office. That's what the allegation is here in Diane Douglas's office.
All right, Secretary of State Michelle Reagan apparently is getting involved in this redistricting, the latest redistricting fight. This is now state legislative, appearing before the Supreme Court. We're back to that again. But she's gotten involved and surprised some folks. Yeah,
this is a very stark departure from her predecessor, Ken Bennett, who never got involved in this really throughout the years of controversy over the redistricting commission, all these years of accusations of them kind of stacking the deck for Democrats. This case goes to the legislative districts, not the congressional ones like the last case, where Republicans are accusing the redistricting commission of underpopulating some districts and overpopulating Republican districts in order to make a map more favorable to Democrats. And especially one particular district that the commission very openly said, we're trying to make this more competitive. We're going to move some Republicans over here. Michelle Reagan filed a brief with the Supreme Court, said, you guys should overturn these maps.
And the claim was a built-in bias in the redistricting process.
Correct. The Supreme Court has ruled previously that that you can redraw maps for political reasons. You can have a difference in population. The question is whether this goes over that line. There was a 3-judge panel of federal judges in Phoenix who looked at this issue, held a very lengthy hearing, and ruled 2-1. With one strong dissent, that it was perfectly constitutional. And the Supreme Court will have a direct review.
I mean, this is a completely partisan thing. They hate that commission. They appointed the wrong person in the Republicans' minds to be the independent chair of that, and Democrats had 3 votes and Republicans had 2, and they've challenged it on so many levels, and they've tended to lose on those levels. And everything that commission does is tainted, so they see that. But it certainly hasn't resulted in any kind of Democratic majorities down at the legislature.
Sure. Now, the argument from the redistricting commission is one big reason for this underpopulation of certain districts is pretty much every Democratic legislative district is underpopulated below the average, and all the Republican ones are over. Now, their argument is this was mostly done for the Voting Rights Act. At the time, Arizona was one of several states that had to get pre-clearance from the Department of Justice before this map could go into effect. That's gone now. The Supreme Court tossed that out the window a couple of years ago. And so these Republicans, including Michelle Reagan now, are saying it's no longer permissible. You got to redraw the maps.
But can it be argued that the Secretary of State's job, among the many aspects of the job, is to implement the Redistricting Commission's actions.
It is, but she's a political office holder. She's a Republican. She is weighing in. She has a perfect right to do that. And you know, like Jeremy said, her predecessor did not. She's going to weigh in.
All right, let's keep it moving here. Mike, this is for you. Glendale wants a new arena manager, which is understandable. Some say they're jumping the gun a little bit here because, yeah, Ice Arizona, they were supposed to maybe work out and do a little kumbaya thing. No kumbaya.
Well, you know, they can't. They struck a deal with the Coyotes owners in 2013, right? They didn't like that deal, so they nixed it in June. The Coyotes sued, so they came back and did a 2-year deal in August, right? And so that goes till 2017. They can't even wait for that to get rid of. So now they're hiring a Massachusetts consulting firm, $400 an hour to help them do an RFP. And if they find somebody they like, they're going to dump Ice Arizona as arena manager, or the Coyotes owner, and that'll probably be the end of hockey. In Phoenix, in Glendale, and that council, that city, just cannot be coherent with a message on that because they're just all over the place. They get rid of the Coyotes deal, they do another one, and now they want to get rid of them again.
And an audit of the Coyotes, what was it, a year or so ago, an audit showed that the team was short. They shorted them in naming rights, they shorted them in ticket surcharges, they didn't provide financials. I mean, this is a toxic relationship.
It absolutely is. They requested that audit under the 2013 deal last year. It took them a year to do it. They still weren't happy with the information they got from the Coyotes, how they were really disclosing everything. And the Glendale, the auditors, the city claims that they didn't get the naming rights revenue, the parking, ticket sales revenue, fees that they were supposed to get. And the Coyotes reported a loss of, I think, $34.8 million. That included, closing costs on the deal and operating losses. The auditors think it's more than that. Mm-hmm. It is toxic, and I don't know how they can craft a new deal that would keep the team here long term.
Gut feeling: will there be a Phoenix Coyotes in the future?
Well, that's the latest thing. They might not move to Vegas or Seattle or Quebec City, but hey, come back down to the arena. We're looking at building a new arena, for the Suns at some point. We'll make it multi-use. Maybe they move down here and give it a shot down here. There's always the rumors about, Scottsdale and the reservations.
ASU's got a hockey team. They got to play somewhere too.
Yeah, do something out down in Tempe or Scottsdale. They may not. The boat looks like it's pretty much going to sail on Glendale pretty soon.
All right, don't want to get out of here without this ruling that involves some election scofflaws. Just basically saying, forget about it.
Yeah, this is the ruling, the federal court ruling that keeps striking again and again and again. This is a ruling from a federal judge late last year that struck down the definition of political committee that was in Arizona statute as unconstitutional. And the problem that we've seen a lot with election regulators since then is every one of our laws that we have to enforce is based on that. And so you have all these outstanding complaints, enforcement actions, people who they've been trying to collect fines from for a while. All this has gone up the window. We saw the Secretary of State's office dump a couple dozen of these, and now the Attorney General's office has about 82 of these things, some of which go back as far as 2008. They looked at this and said, well, based on this ruling, these laws are all unconstitutional. We can't enforce these, so we're just going to drop all this.
Okay, help me here now. The wordy definition was struck. The legislature rewrote a new definition, not quite as verbose. And then the Attorney General wanted the Ninth Circuit to vacate the original. Right. Where are we in this?
Well, what we've seen this week is they're drawing a fine line. They're saying, okay, anything before we rewrote the law, we're just going to let it pass.
Okay.
And those are all the pending things. Of course, there have been dozens of people who have paid fines and have been disciplined or whatever over the years. Those all stick. But anything pending that's either being appealed or still in process as of this last year are forgiven.
Well, you look at these court rulings, they pretty much dismantled all the clean elections, all the reforms we've had, and the landscape of the state is changed. When Jim Peterson, those guys were running those things, we were reformist on those things. The folks at the legislature, the folks in office right now have no interest in doing those. So you have the courts and kind of the political wings just conspiring against that.
All right, that'll do it. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Monday on Arizona Horizon, the city of Phoenix is working on plans to regulate drones, and a former state attorney general releases an album of original music. That's Monday at 5:30 and 10, right here on Arizona Horizon. Tuesday, we'll see how Arizona is preparing for National Preparedness Month. Wednesday, learn about efforts to develop a general-purpose data storage platform. Thursday, a discussion on raising the gas tax. And Friday, it's another edition of the Journalists Roundtable. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great weekend.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.